again, everybody. I'm Scott Murray.
Hi, and I'm Dr.NinaRiosDoria.
And we welcome you to yet another edition of Conversations of Connection. And, of course, we're always talking about mental wellness in sports and in life.
Absolutely.
For sure. How you doing?
I'm doing really good.
Good.
I'm feeling good. I'm healthy, so that's always great.
Well, the month of October is here. Halloween just around the corner, huh?
I know. It's
You got your little costume all picked out?
I don't, but I decorated yesterday. So
All right.
the house is decorated, so
All
it
right,
feels
that's
good.
a good thing.
Yeah,
Lots of pumpkins here and there and everywhere.
Yes. How
Good.
about you?
Good. I've been so busy, I haven't had time.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. So, but it's been a lot of fun, and always enjoy sitting down here and having you tell us about our incredible special guest that we've got this week. So
Yes.
that's we're really excited about that.
I'm really excited to.
Yeah, especially in these trying times. It's been crazy for people. So I think our show, and a lot of people have come up to me and said, really enjoy the show. It's something I probably wouldn't have watched or listened to before, Scott, but my gosh, when you talk about mental wellness, we're all going through this. I mean, the craziness of what's, we're all enduring in the midst of this pandemic, even though we hopefully are on the downside of it. Is just crazy. So we really enjoy some of the things that you've been able to share with us. So
That's good to
I
hear.
thought that was nice.
It's really good to hear, and I love that the guests that we've had on the show have shared their story, have been really vulnerable and transparent.
Very
and
upfront.
I think the people need to hear that
Oh,
they're not
they do.
alone. And that's what motivated us to do the show, to say, you know what, we all are going through challenges. How do we get through them?
That's exactly right.
And what I love about this guest is not only is he great at mental wellness and physical health, but our guest today is also the CEO of Brinker, which he's been for many years. And so he's in a leadership role and yet balances that and training for many races, which we're going to hear more about, one being an Ironman or Ironman that he's done in the past. So today we welcome Wyman Roberts, the CEO of Brinker. Welcome, Wyman.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Welcome. Great to have you.
So I would just probably clarify or add to, a lot of people don't know what a Brinker is. So it's really Chili's, right? So
Yes.
for most people, it's Brinker is the parent company of Chili's and Maggiano. So we own about 1,000 restaurants around the country, and we franchise several 400 or 500 more around the world.
And I, there's been some incredible people that have been in your seat, not this one right here, but at Brinker. Doug Brooks, who I'm sure we'll talk about during the course of this, because all the wonderful things that Brinker continues to do philanthropically with St. Jude Hospital and things like that. And Ron McDougall prior to that. And Norman Brinker was a dear friend of mine before he passed, and he was the first one that introduced me to Brinker.
Great culture and legacy.
Just unbelievable
within
culture,
the
and I hope you'll talk about that today, because it's good stuff. So I'm a big fan of Brinker. And, there's a lot of wonderful companies around this world, but the culture, as he says, is just above and beyond.
Well, and the fact that you knew this culture going into it, as a CEO, you've been on since 2013, right?
Right.
And so to know you're going into such a great culture, my first question is, how do you sustain that great culture? As a new CEO, that's a change for everybody. How did you sustain that culture that you walked into and keep it positive?
Well, I think it's interesting. My first job with Brinker was running Maggiano's, and I actually took over that company from the founder. And so the culture, when you replace a founder, the culture has really got an opportunity to get wobbly, what we call wobbly on you. So I think you have to be very specific about, wanting to hold on to the culture. And so we did a lot of work to really identify what it was that made Maggiano specifically special. And I just kind of carried that same thing on. I had the beauty and the benefit of working with Doug Brooks, shoulder to shoulder. Doug Brooks was the CEO prior to me. Doug was also the first manager of a Chili's. So, I mean, his story is amazing because, how often do you have a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar international company who was also the first manager of the restaurant?
Right.
And so for well over 30 years, Doug led.
And talk about what Doug Brooks and you and Brinker continue to do. And I'm talking about the Chili's Care Center.
Sure.
That's I think came from money from Chili's. $50 million, I think, is what it cost.
Well, to date, so what we're referencing is our partnership with St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, which started as a local restaurant opportunity in Memphis. One of our local managers was just raising money. It turned into a national sponsorship and a focus for us. And over the last decade or so, we've raised over $88 million.
It's 88 now, is it?
$88
that's
million
unbelievable.
This year. And this year was our best year ever at $10 million. And we've got a care center. We were the first company on campus to sponsor a building and have our name
At
on
St.
a
Jude.
building at St.
That's
Jude.
wonderful.
And we have the Chili's Care Center there, which is it's just a special place.
If you ever saw this place, Nina, you would not believe it. I'm talking
Really?
about the Care Center. I've been to St. Jude many, many times doing videos and what have you, and
Wow.
unbelievable. And you have so much to be proud of what you've done up there.
Yeah, it's another great example of the culture of Brinker and the legacy of Doug and Norman. While Norman wasn't really involved.
It sounds like
unreal.
Doug was a really great man. I don't know him personally, but
Still
obviously he's a great man.
He's a great
and he
man.
still is a great man.
He's still a great man.
And going back, because like I said, I think there's going to be businessmen, leadership people listening, and the culture, and that relates to athletes and sports organizations as well. We have this great idea to have this great culture and to instill great values, but it has to go beyond that. And obviously you've been very successful at going beyond that. And I'm wondering if you can share with us specifically the things you do that really helped instill the values and keep that culture the way it is today.
Sure. Again, I think you can't. I think you have to be specific, especially if it's a big company, and we're 50,000 plus team members all over the country, and leadership spread out all over the country. Yeah. And when I say that, I think things like language need to be thought through. And what are you gonna call your employees? As simple as that. What are you gonna call when I got to Brinker? We called our restaurants, we called them stores, which isn't not unfamiliar. And we said, we're a hospital. We wanted to really embrace hospitality a little more and bring it to the forefront. So we don't call them stores anymore. We call them restaurants. That small thing took a lot of people a long time to embrace because they'd just been used to calling them stores. And it's like, we're really about hospitality. We're in the restaurant business. They're restaurants. Let's just talk about restaurants. Let's talk about our employees as team members. And so those are just a couple of examples where you have to be very specific about what it is about the culture you want to embrace, and then you just recognize people when they're doing the right things that support that. And it's funny, you don't really have to do a whole lot to those that don't. They'll just find, if they're not comfortable with that culture, they kind of just move on, and so the culture just kind of grows organically from those actions.
The right people stay with you.
They do.
And
When you make it strong enough, you don't even have to worry about weeding out the wrong people. They're just not going to feel comfortable. So that's what we found. We talk about the sunflower analogy. You don't have to worry about the weeds. Just water the sunflowers. Just do the right thing. So the sunflowers grow. They basically take all the sun, and then all the weeds die. You don't really have to. You don't have to weed a sunflower garden.
Right.
That takes
Good
care of
analogy.
itself.
And that's the thing. The one thing that I've always, just as an outsider, I love Chili's, I love Maggiano's, I love, but the culture that exists there.
Yes.
And so many people say, we got a good culture. We've got this. But I mean, it is legitimately there. And then as we
You
said,
feel it when you walk in to
Yeah.
your restaurants. You do.
yeah, and what they're doing behind the scenes, again, with St. Jude and that type of thing, it's great. You want to be a part of a team that does those kinds of things. That's what you want to be a part of.
Yep.
So hats off to you for continuing that legacy. I mean, gosh, it's almost a decade that you've been there. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah. It's been
Well, they must like what you're doing, huh?
Well,
He's
we're
doing a
having
pretty
fun
good
and we're
job.
doing some good stuff.
So one of the reasons I also wanted to have you on the show to share that, and also to share how you do. You got into doing triathlons in 2010,
Yes.
right? And I'm curious, what got you interested in doing? You're already running a business, right? You're
Right.
CEO, but I think I want to start training for triathlons. What started that path for you?
Well, long story short, we moved to Dallas. My wife wasn't necessarily thrilled. We'd lived in Florida for 22 years.
Wasn't thrilled about the
move.
Okay,
about
the move.
and my junior in high school wasn't so thrilled, and so it was a tough time. And actually, she started running. She'd never run before, seriously. She started running, and like everything.
Well, that's what I wondered. Was it moving to Texas or the running that she didn't like?
Well, she didn't like moving to Texas. She didn't want to move. She just didn't really appreciate a move.
Well,
after
let me interrupt
22.
you just before you answer the question. What do you think about it now?
She likes Dallas.
Does she?
She's here now. Yeah,
Okay,
she's
okay.
found a home. But at that time, she was making new friends, and so she just embraced running. And it's a longer story. But anyway, she started running, and like everything, she started doing small distances, and then 5Ks, and then 10Ks, and then she was doing a half, and
Oh,
next thing you
wow.
know, she's training for marathons. And so I started running before I started triathlon, basically to see my wife. I mean, it's like I figured, well, if I'm going to see her, I better start running
You're like,
too.
fine. So you weren't a big runner back then
No,
either.
I didn't start running or doing anything.
I had no
surfed.
idea.
I grew up in Hawaii.
So that
I
really
was
came
a
from her,
surfer.
huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I got the same thing. I got to doing half marathons, and I decided I do not want to do a full marathon. I just didn't have any desire. I'm not really a runner's build. And so I got into triathlon. And we had a coach that was helping us, and he was a triathlete. So I got into triathlon. And, of course, same thing happened. Sprints, Olympic distance, then half Ironmans. And now I'm doing a full Ironman, which is basically, a 2.4-mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then you run a marathon.
Right,
So I've done 9 marathons, but all of them at the end of a triathlon.
Yeah.
I've never done a
that
standalone
crazy?
marathon.
It's crazy.
So
and that's where the expression "catch me if you can" came from, because his wife would look back at me. Okay,
That's
catch me
pretty
if you
much.
can.
I'm curious, where did your wife stop? Like, she was running,
That's
you were running with
unbelievable.
her. And isn't it unbelievable?
It really is.
Did she train with any triathlons with you, or she just...
No, she's not into riding bikes on the open road. So it's funny, because most people that don't do triathlons, they'll always tell you, hey, I just don't want to swim, especially in open water.
Right,
That's
yeah.
what keeps most people. But for her,
Right.
it was the mechanical aspect of riding a bike on the road. So she's done 5 marathons.
I had no idea. That's wonderful.
She's a runner, and
Now,
continues
what about
to run.
kids?
I have 3.
And are they into this?
They're not. I don't have any that are triathletes. They are. My daughter's a trainer by profession, so she's
Okay.
really into fitness, and I'm actually heading to Baltimore this weekend to run a marathon or a half marathon with her and some friends.
Isn't that great that he's running with his daughter?
Oh, it's awesome.
A half marathon.
It's awesome.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And so the kids are all into fitness, but they
Right.
find their own lanes.
It's funny. My daughter is lives in Santa Monica, and so she's going to be running in the LA Marathon coming up the first week in November.
So nice.
And she never ran that much.
Is that her first marathon?
No, she ran in the New York Marathon.
Oh,
and,
okay.
yeah,
So
she used
she's
to
a
live in
marathoner.
New York. She's a VP with J.P. Morgan Chase. She's got a great job, and but she just when I don't know. I like it. It keeps me in shape, but it's good. It's invigorating to be outside. And of course, in Santa Monica, she's like 2 blocks from the beach.
Yeah.
She loves the water. She loves to run. And that's what she does.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So she's probably much like your wife in that respect, that it just makes her feel good and does it affects not only physically but up here,
Sure,
which is of course
sure.
what we're talking about here today.
Yeah. Interesting. You were saying that originally you weren't running at all, and you started running because you wanted to be with your wife.
Yeah.
And then, what I'm hearing though is that you went on to do triathlons, and then she didn't. So what motivated you to shift and do these long, intense races? What was the motivation behind all that?
It's funny when you think about running and endurance sports. People tend to think they're kind of individual, but I've always had a group that I've trained with, and really when you think about these things, it's the training that's where you spend 99% of your time. Your race day, it's a couple hours
Right.
or
And it's
or
over.
or one day,
Yeah.
but you'll spend weeks and months for an Ironman. You'll spend months training. And the camaraderie I have with the group of folks that I've trained with, and there have been different groups over time, has really made it a great social event, and it's added that aspect to my well-being, not just the physical but the social. And Lorene, my wife Lorene, is a big part of that. She's one of the few people who will actually go to an Ironman race and enjoys watching people race an endurance race. And most people, you got to be hardcore to kind of watch that, because there's not a lot going on for a long period of time. They come by on a
through the
bike and then I'll
transition.
see in a couple hours.
Yeah.
And so she's really embraced it and she enjoys it. So it's been something we were able to do together. And so that's kind of how it's worked for me and why I got so passionate about it, and it's been such a big part of my life for the last 12, 13 years.
In the early going, and I'm just thinking about people that are watching this now or listening, and they say to themselves, "Yeah, that sounds like fun, but oh gosh, I'd be tired after half a mile."
Sure.
What about the beginning stages of what you've gone through, and what both you and your wife said? You know what? That's all right. We're going to stick to it. We're going to stay focused. We're going to be positive. We're going to be productive. We're going to make this happen. But at the same time, I'm sure there are those out there that go, "Oh gosh, that was ridiculous. I don't want to do this anymore." How did you get over that stage to get to the point that you really were legitimately somebody that could contend in running a quarter marathon, a half marathon, a full marathon?
Well, first, you start. I was 50, almost 50 when I started this, and
really,
so there was a lot of. I had a lot of those same concerns, like is this
That's
really
what I
something
wondered.
you want to start? You want to start running at 50? You want to start doing these endurance sports at 50? And what I found was, you got a lot of life in your body, and you can do a lot of things. I mean, I'm inspired by 70-year-olds. The Ironman race in Kona, it's the oldest competitor that gets the loudest cheers at the finish line.
I bet.
It's watching those 75, 80-year-old competitors come across. So first thing is you can do more than you can think, especially when you've got age considerations. And then secondly, you bite it off in small chunks, right? It's that whole idea of, hey, I didn't start thinking I'd ever do a full Ironman. I started going, hey, there's a Halloween triathlon that's a block or two away from my house. Maybe I'll go do that. I think Nina might be signing up for that one.
Next week.
That was my first ever triathlon, and you're swimming in a pool and it's manageable, and then you get the bug. If you get the bug, you get the bug. Some people it's a bucket list thing. You check it off, and some people it becomes more of a lifestyle.
And it's so nice that you, like you mentioned, your wife is there to support you, and it makes it more fun for you. And again, you also mentioned the value of connection and relationships, and it's something we talk about, and it's so good for your mental health. And that seems like one of the main reasons why you continue to do these races is it brings you together with your family, but also friends, and that's a big part of the mental health piece and exercising. Absolutely. What have you also found that helps you with your overall mental wellness, your mental health, being the CEO, doing races? What keeps you steady and grounded in a good place?
Well, I mean, when we think about well-being, and we've as a company embraced this concept of well-being, and that we owe it to ourselves and to our team members to support them in more than just their employment. And so there's physical, there's your community, there's the relationships you have, personal, there's financial well-being. All of those things kind of make you a stronger person and a better leader. Mm-hmm. And so I just try and keep myself balanced and make sure that the things that are important to me and for me to be effective as a leader, and physical well-being is a big part of that. I have found, especially under pressure situations, when I'm physically fit or I do better. I mean, I'm actually more engaged. I'm more positive, and I learned that fairly early in my career, and so I've tried to maintain some of that.
I think that's true of most people. If you feel good about yourself, your outlook on life is just so much more positive. Yeah. What about the culture that? In the last couple of years with the pandemic, what has that been like? How have you been able to help? I'm sure there's some employees that we know what happened with the number one cause of accidents for teenagers in early 20s was automobile accidents. Yeah. Now it's suicide. Yeah. How the whole process has changed for you from that standpoint?
Well, first the pandemic and its impact on the restaurant industry.
Right, and on your employees.
Yeah, and our team members.
How you helped your team members.
Yeah, it's been significant, and what we've had to really embrace and understand, even more so than before, was that their whole life is part of what they bring into our restaurants every day, and we have to support them with that. So their mental well-being is critically important, and that is influenced by their physical well-being, their social well-being, and their financial well-being, helping them make decisions beyond just coming in and running a restaurant. So we try and support them as in any way we can across those various aspects of their life, and we offer programs and assistance, and I'll just, as long as we're talking a little bit more about physical here, we just had a meeting where we brought our GMs in, and they were all vaccinated, and we had a great time, and we started every morning with some form of physical activity. I took a bunch of them for a run, a bunch of them went for walks, some yoga, whatever gets you going. And you don't have to participate, but if you want to, we support that. And I think that's the kind of breadth you need to be thinking about now as you deal with people who are at the kind of the front lines of the pandemic, out there every day for almost now going on 2 years, with masks on and a lot of pressure. So.
You model what a great leader is. You're modeling what you're sharing. You're not just saying we need to get physically active. You're doing it. You're showing them how to stay physically active, and and that helps not only just with mental health, but it also helps you makes them happier. Exercise helps with overall, makes your energy go up, helps you be more focused, and so you're creating just better leaders for your company.
The chemical, the endorphins that get spun off every morning when I work out are. I mean, it's priceless from my perspective. I mean, your body creates chemicals when you work out that actually put good thoughts into your brain. And
absolutely,
who couldn't use more good thoughts in their brain every day?
Especially right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I can't work out, I miss it. I mean, it's almost withdrawal.
Is there anything that you have changed in the way you approach things? I asked you just a second ago about the pandemic and all that we've had to change and what it's been like for young people and some of the things that have gone, unfortunately, the other way. I just wondered, are there things that you thought at one time in your life, oh, we'll never be a part of that, but now as a result of the pandemic, you've seen what has happened. A lot of people are not working. A lot of people don't want to work. Other people don't want to get a vaccine. Other people don't want to wear a mask. I mean, you run the whole gamut. So how about for you and how you've had to change maybe the way you've done things in the past? And again, I'm looking not just what you do day to day and how you set the table and how you do this and how you do that, but I mean from a mental standpoint, a mental wellness standpoint, things that you want to, to help your employees.
I think it's interesting. We talked a little bit about Norman Brinker, who is obviously the person the company's named after.
Right.
Amazing individual and just a leader in the restaurant industry for decades. And he had a saying that was, the only thing that matters is that the guest returns. And one of the things we've had to do is kind of interpret that for people, because basically that could have been interpreted as, hey, no matter what your guests do to you as a team member, they're right. And in this environment, with a lot of the stuff that's been going on, we've had to come back and say, no, the guest, the guest isn't always right. We're here for you. You're our employees, and sometimes we have to interpret actions that you would have never thought may have ever happened
or
before,
ever existed,
are now happening.
Right.
Not frequently, but enough. And you have to let your people know, hey, we're here for you. We want the guests to return. They're our priority, but you're our priority too. And sometimes that means we're have to tell people, hey, that's not acceptable, and we stand up for our team members.
So great. You do a beautiful job communicating how much you care for your people. And that's why they probably are so loyal and do what they do. One of the things, I know we just talked about the pandemic, and that might have been the most challenging part as a CEO. I don't know if there's any situation or story that stands out to you that was really challenging for you in your life, or maybe it's as a CEO that really challenged you mentally and you had to push through it. And I'm wondering if you could share that and what helped you get through that time. Maybe it's personally or professionally.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you're in the restaurant or the retail business, there's always cycles, right? So there have been several times where you find yourself on the down cycle, where for whatever reason things just aren't going well. And as a publicly traded company, there's a lot of exposure and a lot of pressure when you're reporting quarterly results. And so I think rather than be specific, I'll just say there've been several times in my career where those situations have happened. We're not getting the kind of results we'd like to get. There's been a lot of pressure for us to do better. We're working good plans. And the key, I think, to getting through that and being successful, first off, turning it around, but also just doing it in a way that you can feel like you're leading effectively. It starts with coming with a real positive attitude and engaging your team. And again, part of that is the physical well-being and making sure that you're fit and you're engaged, and that you're not walking in the door kind of tired already. So you're able to channel all your energy positively, and then you embrace people and you acknowledge the challenge, but you also acknowledge the fact that as a team we can accomplish whatever we need to accomplish to be successful. And unfortunately for me, that's always kind of been the case. We've overcome. We've had better results, and on the flip side, it's so rewarding, to celebrate as a team.
I love it. I'm curious, as you're talking, what would you say your leadership style is?
So I'll tell you what people will tell me. It's
I'm thinking
what
so.
people will tell you. What people will tell you if you ask them about me, they'll always say it's intense. There's an intensity. I don't see that.
Intense. I'm jumping here for a sec. A lot of times, intensity can be misconstrued. Not somebody that's really focused on what he's supposed to be doing, but almost intimidating to those that are receiving that intensity.
Right.
Okay?
And I think I have to watch that, because sometimes my intensity will be interpreted as a little scary, so, and I'm always trying to remember, okay, smile, and be, because I in my heart, I'm a hospitalitarian. I've been in the restaurant business my whole life. I love working with people. I picked this industry because of that. I think that whole idea that you find something you love and make it your career, I was lucky enough to do that. And so I've always loved working with people and working in hospitality. but sometimes my intensity, and and this is part of the athlete part of it too.
Yes.
You just get focused and
Right.
and you forget. And so I bring a level of intensity and a level of analytical kind of rigor to problem solving. That's just kind of my mindset. And then I try and make sure I balance that with being aware that, hey, this is a team sport. Everything we do is a team sport in my mind. And how do we work together and develop people and move them along as well?
So let me play off of Nina's question to
Sure.
you about the intensity and making sure that it's construed in the right way and not a negative way. What would you like your legacy to be? We know the legacy of a Norman Brinker
Sure.
in creating this company, and then through others, other CEOs, the McDougall, Doug Brooks, and,
Yep.
and now you. What would you like your, years from now, if your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, they talk about you, and they say, gosh, he was the president, CEO of Brinker International.
Sure.
I mean, a major company, major restaurant all across, the globe. What would you like them? Are there 2 or 3 things that come to mind that you hope you have accomplished in leaving that proper legacy?
I think when you think about legacy, I don't really think about it as from a personal perspective. My responsibility as the CEO of a company that's got the history and the pedigree of a Brinker is first to leave the brands stronger than I received them. So and the reason I have to do that is because there are literally 50,000 people whose careers and lives and dreams are connected to this business. And it's my job to make sure that I'm giving them the opportunity to develop and have the life they want to have and achieve the dreams that they have for themselves and their families. And even if it's just passing through and they're on their waiting tables as they're going to college to become a doctor somewhere else, giving them those opportunities and making sure that when I leave Brinker, that the brands are strong and the business is strong, so that the career opportunities that these people have trusted me with are in good shape. That they can feel comfortable that, hey, I'm in a good position. If I want to stay here for a while and create my whole career here, and we have every week now 30-year, 35-year anniversaries, which is unheard of in the restaurant industry.
Right.
It's almost unheard of in any industry anymore. People just don't stay with companies that long, but we have those celebrations pretty much weekly.
And I'm sure you can think back, since you said you've been in the business your entire life, basically.
Pretty much.
You can think back what it was like when you were a rookie.
Yep.
You were just very young, and oh gosh, if I'm ever a boss, I'm not going to be like this guy, or I'm not going to be like that supervisor. I'm not going to be. And you probably learned from that,
Sure.
and now that helps you deal with those same people as from the position you're in now.
Absolutely. I've had great experiences with prior leaders and with
Right.
people that I've come in contact with to help me hopefully become a better leader and embrace some principles
Absolutely.
that make me a more effective.
When you were describing just now how you want to leave Brinker better and people better and everyone in a better place, I just feel as you were talking, I feel like if there was a leadership style for you, it would be like a transformational leader. That's how I see you as you're sharing your story. Just want you to know that,
Which is a real positive. in my
beautiful.
book.
Yeah, it's great
Appreciate it.
leadership. We need
yeah.
more of that. One of the things I want to ask you is, before we go today, is time.
Yeah.
Because everyone's busy.
Sure.
Everybody's busy. We all have just a certain amount of time every day. You're running a company. You still continue to train because you want to. It puts you in a better mindset, and all that's great. But there are going to be people listening going, but I don't have that kind of time, or I don't. How do you make time to do all that you do and to spend time with family as well?
Yeah. You just have to make it. And for me, it's about scheduling it. And for me personally, it's always in the morning. My day, once I get into an office environment, I don't always have control.
Yeah.
But I always have control over my morning. And so, if I have to get up at 5 o'clock and get my workout in, then I do that. And so I tend to work out early every morning, and then on the weekends, I'll go long. So, and we get up early and ride bikes long early. So I can get home and still have time for my family. And again, I started this as my kids were out of the house. I do some of this with parents of younger children. It's challenging. I don't know how they would do it, because I was at soccer games. When we're riding bikes, I was at soccer games, and I wouldn't have given that up. So you got to find what fits for you. But for me specifically, structure it. Yeah. Don't let people make it your time and own it. There's and then get to bed. Because that's always
Get
a
some
challenge.
sleep. Yeah, sleep is valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience? Anything come to mind that we might not have asked you that you'd like to let them know, who Wyman is and what you continue to be a part of?
No, I think from my perspective, it's I appreciate you spending some time with me today. I think I appreciate the fact that you've got some history with the company I'm leading right now. It's an amazing company, and the importance of culture and the leadership that's been at that organization before me has helped me become a better leader. I think I take a little bit from everybody. When I think about mentors, I don't have a mentor that I've modeled myself after. I've been fortunate enough to run into so many good people that have something to offer me to make me a better person. And I find myself, even at this age, learning new lessons every day. So I think if I were to leave anything with you, it'd just be that you're never too old. Never too old to start something that may be a challenging, like Ironman. You're never too old to keep learning and becoming better and more effective. And the life's beautiful, and
So
that
good.
you find those people that you can enjoy it with and embrace them.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Perfect.
He's a rock star in my book.
Yeah.
And I think he fits
Thank
right
you.
in with all the other people we talked about that
does.
were his predecessors from Norman Brinker right on down. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Really.
Continued success.
Thank you so much for your time here today. Really an
for
honor.
sure.
Thank
For
you.
sure.
Thank you.
All righty.
Enjoyed
That's
it.
great. Well,
Wrapping up.
till next time, huh?
Till next time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Scott Murray.
Yes, I'm Dr. NinaRiosDoria, and we will see you next time on Conversations of Connection.
Be safe, stay strong.